Well, to be honest, I'm getting kind of tired of looking at this kind of sky. Fortunately, we're going to be done with it in about a month or two, and we should see a nicer assortment of aerial photography here. Anyway, let's take a look and see what's happening across Texas and the rest of the country this afternoon. There's a look at the conditions around the country. It looks a lot like what we had on Wednesday, and it kind of resembles last week as well. A very slow, glacial change in the weather. We've got cool air up there in the northern U.S., 59 degrees at Minot, and if we go further to the west, lots of 60s in Washington, and that's a big change from a few weeks ago when temperatures were about 45 degrees warmer. Even in the high deserts, 67 to 71 and 75 there at Pasco, Washington. Out in the southwestern U.S., it still is quite warm. Only a little bit of shower activity up on the Mogollon Rim, back towards Alamogordo, but temperatures coming up to 103 there, with dew points falling off to 58 and 46 out in the Mojave Desert, and even 13-degree dew point at Vegas. So midsummer has definitely returned with a vengeance. The tropical air continues to flow north in Texas, dew points in the 70s in many areas. Looks like an easterly wave moving through Louisiana, and unfortunately that is saturating the ground in advance of the hurricane approaching early next week, so that could contribute to some of the flooding problems in that state. Also, the typical rainfall, late summer showers, sea breeze-driven activity, boundaries across Florida, and that's fired off a lot of showers all the way from Orlando up into southern Georgia. And then up in the Midwest region, we've got showers from northern Iowa up to northern Lake Michigan. Very cool afternoon with rain in many areas of Wisconsin and Michigan, and a few showers out there in Pennsylvania and upstate New York. And then taking a look at the tropics, things are active. There's Hurricane Ida in western Cuba. That's going to be moving into the Gulf this weekend and taking up a large part of the news cycle. Tropical Storm Nora heading northwest. That's going to be a factor in the desert southwest around Wednesday or Thursday as the remnants move up to the north, and we see precipitable water amounts coming up in that region. Here's how western Canada and Alaska are looking. Do we have any viewers out on crab boats or anything like that? I do know we have some viewers in Alaska proper, but it is a cold day. You can see the cold air flowing southward, and we actually discussed this on the GFS about 10 days ago. It was advertising this scenario here. Lots of cold air. This is a trough of cooler air, very dense air, very cold with great vertical height, and that stretches from Barrow all the way down to about McGrath. And very strong cold front, and temperatures here in late August in the 30s and 40s. That's pretty chilly. We do find the warmer weather out ahead of it in Yukon and Northwest Territories with 60s in that region. Here's a southern stream system that's going to be heading into British Columbia maybe in a day or two. And here's eastern Canada. I know a lot of you are hanging off the edge of your seats for this one. But yeah, there's 1028 millibar high. This is a large cool air mass that's actually moving south, driving that cold front coming into New York. And more cold air up to the north. It's not only cool for this time of year, but it has good vertical extent. So it's a very large, voluminous cold air mass. And out in Greenland, yeah, they're getting a bit of a snowstorm there on the east coast. The big story, of course, is Hurricane Ida. This is pretty cut and dry. The track has shifted a little bit east over the past couple of days, but over the past 24 hours, not really much change in that track. It is expected to intensify quite a bit. That's going to be the main change that we're going to see over the next 48 hours as it hits that warmer OHC talking about ocean heat content, the kind of like the integrated temperature that's available in the top of the ocean basin there. So it's going to head into the major hurricane strength status around Sunday, and we'll see those winds coming up well above 100 knots. And we'll take a look at that track. This is the official National Hurricane Center track. So areas that are going to be under the gun are mostly going to be this wetland region around Grand Isle, and there's probably quite a few oil platforms offshore. I don't know the full extent of it, but that's definitely oil production territory. Track going pretty much through Huma, Thibodaux, Convent, and western Lake Pontchartrain, and right through Baton Rouge, maybe a little bit to the east of Baton Rouge. You can see that the center line is going to be about 46 miles from New Orleans, so the heavier winds will be driving into the western part of the city and a little bit weaker out to the east there. The storm surge, of course, will be hitting the right side of the track a little bit more heavily and affecting the west side of the track a little bit less. And there's the peak surge graphics. We're looking at 7 to 11 feet. So I think that'll put some of the levees there in New Orleans up to the test there. 4 to 6 feet there in Lake Pontchartrain, and around that, less than 7 feet on either side from Gulfport eastward and from, say, around Lafayette westward. And we'll check out the winds. I consider this the source for wind data. I mean, we do have model data, but this has been prepared by a human forecaster, and it takes pretty much every possible contingency into account. And we're talking about stuff that I could not possibly go through. These forecasters have been looking at this stuff for many hours. So they've got the sustained winds, 105 knots. That's going to be solid Category 3 with gusts up to 130 knots. Here we have a very interesting graphic. This is the GFS peak wind, and we're talking about cumulative peak wind. So when we run this forward, you can see the hurricane coming inland, and that lays down a track of maximum wind gust values. Looking at the bottom, we see what exact values we're looking at. Anything gray or black is above 75 miles an hour. The olive shades are getting into 95 to 100. We can see that most of those are right offshore, or maybe about 20 miles inland, maybe 30 miles. And then beyond that, very rapid weakening down to the 70 to 80 mile an hour range. It appears that 70 to 80 mile an hour wind will be affecting Baton Rouge all the way to western New Orleans, and then the east side of the city will be looking more on the order of 60 to 70. Now, this is, of course, contingent on the track of the hurricane remaining about the same, the intensities remaining the same, and the GFS having a good handle on the boundary layer interactions. And from what I saw back in 2020 with Hurricane Beta and Laura, it looked like it was actually pretty good. So I think this is probably a good baseline for the winds that we're going to see. And one story that's probably not being talked about much right now is the potential for widespread power outages in Mississippi. You can see that we've got this rapid movement into Mississippi all the way to Jackson of 50 to 60 mile an hour winds, and looks like 40s to 50s all the way into the northern part of the state. That is pine forest territory, and pine trees do tend to be pretty brittle, so we could see a lot of lines coming down in rural areas and some suburbs, and a lot of customers without power going into maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This is a quick playbook of the landfall of the hurricane. It's going to be running about like this right here. The track, the highest winds, pretty much try a different color, maybe something like that right there. And then the winds falling off as you go further to the east. So New Orleans up at the top there. And we can see the coastal area is comprised of a lot of wetland. And that's going to provide an important buffer to minimize the wind field and surge before it reaches the populated areas. So I'm not expecting too many problems inland. but there will certainly be some gusts and I think some tornado watches and tornado warnings in effect as it comes inland. So that's probably enough for Ida. That's only going to affect a small fraction of our viewers. So let's check out weather elsewhere around the country. On this pressure and thickness chart, we can see the extent of the polar front. It's running about like that. And then we pick up the other front in the northeastern U.S. from about Buffalo to Boston. And there's that 1029 millibar high, bringing that cold air south into Maine and New England and back into the Great Lakes region. And some of that cold air undercutting this convective precip, that's responsible for some overrunning type patterns in Minnesota and Wisconsin and Michigan. And then we have the main belt of tropical air flowing northward. That's going to be the position of the low-level jet from about Abilene, Oklahoma City up to Des Moines, where we have that strong pressure gradient right in that region there. Further south looks like a little easterly wave. We can see that in the isobar field right there. So that's producing some of the showers in Louisiana, helping to saturate the ground, which is what they really don't want. And let's go forward into the weekend. I saw some thunderstorms pop up right there. Yeah, look at that, a little MCS this evening in Iowa. That's pretty soon. We'll have to take a look at the satellite. Why don't we do that right now? Yep, there we go. There's the visible imagery. We can see that tropical air flowing north through Kansas into the Omaha area, and the air up to the north looks a little bit more stable. So certainly a air mass change of some kind going into Nebraska. And I think based on this, we're looking at this axis right here being the focus for convective development, maybe all the way down into the, I guess, Hill City area, north of Russell. Anyway, storms definitely going up already in the southern counties of Nebraska, and it appears that those are propagating towards the northeast. Let's see what the GFS has. Well, no evident explanation for the stable air in Nebraska. I guess maybe just the return moisture has not really hit it just yet. But that's going to be the axis of development. Let's check out the soundings in central Nebraska in that stable air. Oh yeah, look at that, 41-degree dew point. That looks to be back behind a dry line. And then further to the southeast, in the return moisture, that moisture is deep, but it's not very rich. Barely cracking 60s dew points. So that will tend to suppress the convective strength a little bit. You can see we're not really getting much CAPE. Yeah, we're just looking at thousands right there. And the LCL, that's not very impressive, 2.5 kilometers. And looks like problems everywhere. In fact, let's look at the SPC LCL chart. Go to the mesoanalysis graphics for the Central Plains, and then we pull up the LCL height. Thunderstorms developing in greater than 2 kilometer LCL, so they're definitely going to be high based. But it looks like as they move to the northeast, they will be getting in much better air. Not great, it's still up above 1.25 to 1.5, but still could see some severe weather, especially as it gets closer to Des Moines. So there's that initiation there in Iowa. Little MCS moving off to the east part of the state and then into the Lake Michigan area by midnight. Very fast moving. Then going into tomorrow, there's that hurricane heading for Louisiana. Still got tropical flow coming up from the south. Still got this boundary up in the northern plains, sagging just a tiny bit. Actually, you know, looks kind of stationary to me. And let's see, Saturday night into Sunday. Yeah, Sunday is going to be the big day. Hurricane approaching Louisiana. Looks like now the cold front has moved south into the Central Plains, dying off in the Rockies, and a warm front moving up into Quebec. So we're seeing some showers associated with that frontal wave in Ontario and Quebec. Hurricane projected to come on shore Sunday night, Sunday evening. There it is right there. And let's see what else here. There's the main frontal zone. Dormant at this time. Hurricane coming inland for Monday and Tuesday, weakening into a tropical storm and then finally a tropical depression. You can see some storms going up along that boundary there in Nebraska for Monday night. And the hurricane remnants moving into Tennessee, Alabama, and Kentucky for Tuesday. And these tropical cyclones tend to have extensive, very rich moisture plumes, so we could see a lot of flooding problems in that zone right there for early next week. And then going into Thursday, yeah, the remnants heading into the northeast U.S. and linking up. Now we got a frontal boundary up there, and here's those remnants of Nora. See, this is back on Monday here. You can see those remnants moving northward. Precipitable water amounts coming up in Arizona by Wednesday and by Thursday. So a lot of shower activity in the desert southwest for Wednesday, Thursday, and maybe Friday. A quick look at precipitable water. Some very high amounts in the Gulf. Widespread 1.5 to 2 inch amounts. And then, of course, the hurricane adds fuel to the fire, bringing in widespread 2 to 2.5 inch amounts into the southeast U.S. And then out in the Gulf of California, yeah, there's Nora. There's that moisture plume. Lots of 2 inch amounts coming up into Arizona. So things kicking off there for Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday. And then this other plume heading onto the northeast U.S. right there. So those are the two main stories. And then going into the following week, September 5th and 6th, more tropical air for Texas, and you can see the Gulf really opening up across much of the southern U.S., and this early season frontal system moving through the Great Lakes. Looks like that front actually sinks pretty far south, down to Oklahoma and Texas. So it could be a wet start to September in that part of the country. And wow, what's this? Well, that's 300 hours out, but that's a little tropical cyclone coming right up into the Gulf of California. Look at that thing. Yeah, look at that right there. Not sure if that's going to verify, but that would be a very unique case study. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this edition of Forecast Lab. Let me get this wrapped up and uploaded. And we have started publishing the surface analyses on Patreon. So if you're a Patreon supporter, you'll be able to get these charts right to your phone or your desk. We are publishing some of these charts on our days off. We just posted one yesterday, as a matter of fact. So if you're not a Patreon supporter, this may be worth your while for the cost of a cup of coffee every month, and your support will definitely be appreciated. Anyway, I'm off. Hope you all have a great weekend. I want to thank our many great supporters, such as KJ Allen, Nick Hodson, Peter Segovia, Patrice Brown, Trey Thomas, Timothy Lofton, Stephen Dorsett, Mark Versailles, and David Moore. I know I can't mention everybody, but all of you, I greatly appreciate your support with this program, and hopefully we can keep it going for quite a while. There's a possibility we may do a special video for Hurricane Ida for the supporters on Sunday, so you want to watch for that. We'll see the supporters on possibly Sunday and also Monday, and everybody else will see you back here on Wednesday. I hope you have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.